Hello, good morning. How are you? I hope everybody is doing well now, preparing for the public exam. Now in the last class, I entered to American literature plus post-colonial literature. We have some areas to be dealt with, and some poems are assigned to me that we take today. One poem. And this is your textbook. You take page number 9. The poem is Anecdote of the Jar. Anecdote of the Jar. It is a particular special poem from the field of American literature that you have to study. With regard to the poet, Wallace Stevenson. Now, he later became very popular in American literature. Earlier, his poems were kept unnoticed. But later, all people began to like his poems and he became an acclaimed writer. This Stevens has written number of poems, some very simple poems and some complex poems. But he stands for his simplicity. What a critic says, his style is lucid and brisk. People say, one of the critics on Stevenson says, his style of diction is very lucid and brisk, in the sense that everybody can easily follow him. But definitely he uses some images and what is called symbols that sometimes without interpretation people cannot easily understand. Now these Wallace, given in introduction, he was born in Peninsula, the state of Reading, and later joined in Harvard University and in New York. And what was his mission? His mission in the field of education to become an advocate. And he was much interested in the laws and what is called field of justice. And later he became an insurance agent. And it is reported that he was a very, very hard worker. In the sense that started as a clerk or insurance agent, slowly he came to the field of literary taste and a literary field in which he showed himself is dynamic. So Wallace is not an ordinary person, maybe regarded as multi-faceted people. This hard-working nature, that is to be kept noticed in your life, because you are going to finish your graduation. So you have to do or to revert yourself to the conscience of your mind, whether you did your hard work so far. It is, I have read somewhere that a man who is very, greedy in the mood, that he always prays to God. All right, okay, I'm going to take one lottery ticket like Christmas bumper or Onam bumper. Oh God, help me, get me the first prize, like that. Every day praying. But that man keeps on praying, but God does not provide him any prize. It is written, somewhere I read that to communicate to you. And later, he constantly stands on prayer that God give me lottery prize, God give me bumper prize, like that. With the total stress by this man, one day early morning, God appeared in front of him and asked, "Oh, my dear man, your prayer is granted. Your prayer is granted. Today you will get a first prize in Christmas bumper. All right. All right. Then this man wanted, oh, God promises me, this is a fulfillment of my prayer. I did always and I appealed to God always, but did not get. Today I got his word granted. And by the end of his blessing, God told, my dear man, you have a first prize in bumper lottery ticket, but you did not forget to take a ticket this time. In the means what? Hard working, that will fetch you everything. But never stop your hard working and depend on God and God and God, give me things like that. Never say. You have to perform your duty. Probably this may be corrected to Stevens, that being an insurance agent, he became a literary laureate later, and everybody liked his poems. So he published his first collection that is also related to, written in this textbook, all right, a collection of poetry, collection of poem, what is called a harmonium, which shows that he was much interested in the field of musical instruments. It was in 1923 he published a collection of poems titled Harmonium. And the man with a blue guitar, another poem, the man with a blue guitar, was published in 1935. He was always considered to be a gifted amateur. Gifted amateur means he was an amateur poet, but highly talented, highly gifted, highly intellectual in his thoughts. So everybody began to call him gifted amateur man. Poetry, imaginative grace, and his aim of poetry to make everybody excellent. That you keep in mind. Some people might have asked him, what is your mission to write a poem? What is the objective that you keep in your mind to write poems? Then he used to say, poems should make an excellent man. All right, the man should be excellent by the way of culture, by the way of behavior, by the way of attitude to life, or to the philosophy of life. He should be an excellent human being. So his mission was to make the society excellent, make the human being excellent. All right, never depend God only, like the man who wanted first prize from God. Always God won't do. Your duty you have to do first. In this poem also we have, all right, poetry is somewhat, his poetry is conspicuous. Precision and elegance and music. He uses so many images and symbols, highly suggestive. And even the mode of irony and the mode of satire he uses in his poem. But still much acclaimed by the people. Anecdote of a jar, technical, we seem to be very simple. But in underlined area, it would give correct message. That is the success of the poetry. Anecdote of a jar. Jar is very simple thing. Then what does it mean? Anecdote. It is nothing but an interesting, amusing piece of story. Just like the story of a lottery man I told. All right, he wanted to get a prize, but he did not take a ticket. In the same way, some interesting, some amusing piece of story is technically called anecdote. This anecdote of the jar, jar, seemed to be very simple. Jar seemed to be very simple. Even Hot Asphalt, a poem was written by an American poet. All right, Hot Asphalt. In the sense that even we got a poem, will look like very simple subjects. But by going to the inner meanings of the wordings written by the poets would create the topic very great. In the sense that a poet was there simply coming to his room and he wanted to take some water from what is a hot pot, what is called mud pot. Mud pot, in Malayalam, what he called kuza. All right. And looking to the mud pot, it provides very cold water. And it gives us much consolation when we were traveling or making journey in the hot season, under the hot sun, reaching in our private room, then getting cool water, which is a matter of very consolation and comfort. In the same way, the poet comes in his room and takes cold water from kuza or mud pot. Mud pot begins to talk. It is an imagination. Just like a mud pot which is placed on the, where, what do you call, on the table, begins to talk, or it seems, maybe the imagination by the poet, it begins to talk, telling that once upon a time I was in the paddy field. One farmer came, took me from the paddy field and put on me a very big wheel that made me this shape. And once I was in the paddy field, what a pleasant life I led. All the people used to come to me and all very, very lotus flowers were on me. What a beautiful, but what sufferings I have faced when I was putting on a very big wall, making me this mud pot like a kusa shape. And after making me this shape, I was put in a burning fire, which sacrificed my life. I suffered very much. Like that, even it shows, it stands for very insignificant thing. It would give much philosophical thoughts. In the same way, anecdote of the jar written by Stevens. No, jar is very simple like a kuza, but it stands for a great imagination. All right, where he says it would be compared to a dam itself. And the poet says it not only a jar. Jar looks a small symbol. But in his perspective mind as an intellectual poet, he says, may be an hindrance to all the wilderness of the society, all the wilderness of the world, which stands not for art but imagination. So jar stands for this art, and wilderness stands for the nature. The nature is somewhat just like the kuza, just like the mud pot, which I referred by the poet, that the mud pot stands on the table, study table, has a lot of things to communicate. What all the sufferings she had when she was put on the burning wheel, and after that, to make it perfect, it was put on the burning fire, and which suffered a lot. In the same way, here the poet sub-objective between, it is a subject, the theme is what is considered to be the area between the reality and imagination. What is called jar. Jar embodies the dull life of the poet as an insurance agent. It is written. Jar is a symbol, stands for so many things. I told jar is a common kusa like a jar. That is a literary meaning that we get from the dictionary. But in the other way, it is kept a block to the nature. And also in the third stanza of the poem, we see, we compare this jar in his imagination has become a very big dam, which may be collecting water. But in this collection of water makes it a block the water which is coming through the forest and the wilderness. But if it is broken, if the jar like a dam is broken, what will happen? Many casualties would come. The wilderness and the nature would perish itself. And the poet wonders. So jar stands for the real man. The jar stands for imagination. Jar stands for real art. Wilderness stands for, on the other hand, it is the nature. Wilderness stands for the nature. And you know, the harmony between human being and nature is the real cordiality of life. All the poets, that may be the reason in the romantic revival time, Wordsworth and P.B. Shelley and John Keats, everybody went into the nature to understand, feel the nature. So there should be a real harmony between human beings and nature. Here jar is man-made, whereas wilderness is godly made. All these are in the harmony. Otherwise, life would be perished. That is the real thing. So, jar may be considered as a symbol for so many hindrances, so many blocks, and so many hindrances. Now we go to the page number 9. It is jar, you know. It looks a very simple topic, but in considering the imaginative world, it is very it is what you call relation between imagination and reality. Now the poet, now look, only 3 stanzas are there written. Alright, I placed a jar in a Tennessee. Alright, Tennessee, that you may underline Tennessee. I hope you have textbook open page number 8 and 9. The poem is given. Your American and post-colonial literature book you take. I placed a jar in Tennessee. The word I itself, you just underline I. You might have studied in criticism. There are 2 types of poetry. One is called subjective poetry. Second one is called objective poetry. Alright. Once poet himself presents in the poem, we can easily trace it. Subjective poetry means what? He says his own experience. So the presence of I as a subject in the poem would tell you this is subjective in nature. So it is a subjective poetry. I placed a jar, underline jar, in Tennessee. Underline jar, I told you know, jar is a common vessel. But in the imaginative level, in the 3rd stanza of the poem, it would become different thing. But the jar, I kept in the imagination. The same way that you might have studied in the modern poetry, Ted Hughes, hawk roosting, thought fox, alright, thought fox, alright, that you studied in modern poetry. In the same way, here thought fox, fox was there in the thought, fox was there in the thinking. In the same way, here jar, I simply placed a jar in Tennessee. Underline Tennessee. Tennessee is a state of America, South America. So, South America in a visualized manner has been taken into a whole, and he in his imagination says, I placed jar, an artificial tall vessel. It is compared to be a vessel, warm pot like a vessel. It has been placed in the world of Tennessee, state of South America. Tennessee is South American place, state. So considering Tennessee as a whole, he in his imagination puts a jar in front of this wilderness, and around it was round. The jar itself was in round upon a hill. I placed in my imagination this jar near the hill. Normally that we keep a dam, all right, connecting one hill to another hill. All right, that is the speculation that you might have seen there. And it was around upon a hill, it made the solvently wilderness. Solvently, underline solvently. That is a technical word which is used by the poet as an adverbial construction. Solvently, confused state. It is meant solvently wilderness. That is another image. Underline wilderness. So I told it is a subject matter is in between reality and imagination. Now it goes, I placed a jar. A jar is a concrete object like a tall vessel or artificiality that in South America it was around upon a hill. It made the solvently wilderness. It was a confused state of a wilderness. Earlier, before putting a jar in front of the wilderness was in a wide range. The forest area was in a wide range. All the insects, including birds and species, were enjoying total freedom in the forest, total freedom in the wilderness. But after placing this jar, it is better to say, after constructing a big dam there. So the jar, from the speculative mind of the poet, would turn to be a dam which is constructed between one hill to another hill, could have given no freedom for beings in the forest, water in the forest, birds in the forest, animals in the forest. Everything was blocked. It made the solvently wilderness surround the hill, all the hills surrounding. No freedom of life, no speculative mind, nobody, no insect, no animals, no birds. Even the water was not given freedom. Water was blocked by the great dam. You look the beauty of the first stanza. It is written in a different particular rhyme scheme. First one was called Tennessee. Then third line wilderness. Tennessee, a wilderness. Then a hill and hill. It may be the rhyme scheme. A stands which rhymes with the third line. I placed a jar in the Tennessee, and round it was upon a hill. It made solvently wilderness surround the hill. That was the stage. That was so he artificially thinking in his mind, like the poet in the earlier. Just like a mud pot, I told the poet, once he takes water to drink, mud pot begins to talk. What me, my dear man, you are now taking? I have done everything for the people. I have done maximum for the people. But what suffering I had seen. The way that I was living in the paddy field, but nobody was noticing me. I was very happy in the paddy field. The water was with me, water was on me, and even beautiful lotus flowers were growing upon me. Such a beautiful life I had been. But once a man came to my paddy field, took me in a big vessel, and I thought he would bring me up later. But he did what? He put me in a very big wheel and made me this shape of Kusa, and I became so suffered a person. Once upon a time I enjoyed my life, but here now I was kept in a wheel and circling. I became this shape, and not that much over. After taking me from the wheel, no, this man put me in the burning fire. I suffered a lot. How much hours I spent in the burning fire to to make me this shape that made me sit on your table. Now also I give you cool water. The poet says in the mud pot, in different another literature. In the same way, the poet in artificiality brought a jar and kept in the wilderness of the nature, and nature suffering, lot of people suffering, animals suffering, birds suffering, all types. But everybody expects me to provide you sympathy towards everything. But I could not provide you. This is the present condition of my world. I cannot do anything, but I am connecting one hill to another hill. Now has become very big. Has become very big connector, and which I would not tell you. It made the solemnly wilderness surround the hill. It made surround the hill. This is the present stage of the poem. We have two more stanzas that I will continue in the next class. Till that moment, goodbye.